everyone? Welcome back to Bachelor Happy Hour. I'm Joe.
And I'm Serena, and we are back for part 2 with Susanna, who you also may know as Bachelor Data. Let's get into it. Can we talk about, because we've been touching on, Daisy, Maria, Joey's season. It's no secret that Peter's season was huge. Obviously, you said the fastest, biggest follower growth we've seen, and then there was kind of this decline, and we had the year with the 2 Bachelorette seasons, and we had COVID, and we had TikTok coming, and so much kind of happened in that pocket of time, and then we saw this crazy spike that kind of felt like out of nowhere with Joey's season. Can you kind of walk us through that trajectory and maybe why that happened the way it did?
Yeah, that was truly such a crazy season with social media growth. I was expecting it to do well, but not as well as it did. So to talk about social media growth, the one of the data points that I love to look at is the average follower count of the final 4 contestants the night before hometown airs. So I have that for gosh, 15, 20 seasons now. There's been a lot of seasons since I started to track every single day that I have this data consistently. I don't have it for Becca's season, unfortunately, but I do for Colton and on. And what's interesting is we saw that big increase for up until Peter's season. So that average went from 2018 to 2019. So from who was just before Colton? Ari. From Ari's season, the final 4 contestant average was 163,000 followers. Then Colton's season was 467,000 followers. So that's 180% growth from that season to the next. Then going from Colton to Peter's season, the next season it was 481,000 followers. That was just a 3% jump, but they did see bigger growth those last few weeks. Then there was a big dip after that. So it dropped by 60% most years. So it went down 62% from Peter to Matt's season, and then 64% from Matt to Zach's season. And then from Zach's season to Joey's season, it jumped 555%. So it went from Zach's season, his final 4 contestants, their average the night before hometowns was 37,000 followers, which was nothing.
Yeah,
Going back to Peter's season, it was 481, and then it dropped to 37K.
So what was the average for Matt's season?
Matt's season was 182,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I can send you all of your follower counts from your season.
Oh my God, I'm too scared.
But why do you think that is? I mean, I have my reasoning why I think it was personally is I think people just love Joey. I think Joey has somewhat of a little bit of an it factor to him that people just and I think the younger generation, like that Gen Z generation, really just found Joey attractive.
Yeah, they were crushing
and they were crushing on Joey, and I think that was a big reason for that jump.
Yeah, we also have to remember that Joey's season just came right after Golden Bachelor. And Golden Bachelor set crazy records. It brought so many viewers back to the franchise. I think if I remember, his average viewership, total viewers for his season was 6 million followers, which was crazy because we were at the point where other shows were getting 2 million viewers, not followers, viewers. Mm-hmm. So that brought a lot of viewership back. And then I think the casting of Joey, Joey was an amazing lead, and I think he doesn't give himself enough credit. I remember listening to him on Tay and Taylor Lautner's podcast, and he was talking so much about learning about what imposter syndrome meant, and he was a lead that really fed to both generations who watched this show. He really fed to the older generations who were like, "Oh, this is such a cute young man," blah blah blah. That's what my mom would say, right?
Yeah.
He's so sweet, he's so genuine, blah blah blah. But then you also had the Gen Z who are just standing over him because he has emotional intelligence and everything, and he was so, respectful of all the women on his season. And then we also had the contestants who were embracing not only TikTok but Instagram and really bringing those audiences in. And then I also think it was a big reason that it really took off was that fact that Daisy got that first one-on-one date. It was a really strong storyline that made people fall in love with her. And then seeing how Joey also handled the fact that she got the helicopter date the festival, and then a concert, which were all very loud things
I forgot about
with the
that.
cochlear
Oh
implant.
my god, yeah.
And then seeing how Joey handled that conversation just made people fall in love with his season, and then starting to really fall in love with all the contestants. I think it was just a perfect storm season that everything went perfect, and so many people were back from Golden.
Yeah, that's so interesting, the golden element of it. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, do you think there is something to? I mean, I think there has to be, but I always feel like people are more engaged in a season, especially the beginning of a season, when they choose a lead who's in the top three, who's like, because like sometimes when they do like Grant, for instance, he was like, I think he was like 6 or 7.
Yeah. There's a
Um,
few leads that haven't made it to hometowns. I mean, Katie Thurston didn't make it to hometowns. Grant didn't make it to hometowns. I think Hannah Brown's the only one I can think of that didn't make it to hometowns that
oh
still
yeah, but
ended up with
that's
like a massive season. But I'm sure a lot of that also was like timing, and she was just, people loved her.
yeah. Do
But
you
you
think
have
there's
to
any?
remember, Hannah's season actually had some pretty low ratings at the beginning. It was kind of a slow start before it took off. But yeah, normally most leads are chosen from Final Four, and there is a lot more audience momentum whenever they choose from Final Four, because just realistically, they're going to get more screen time. When you get to the Final Four contestants, that screen time is pretty evenly split between just 4 people, instead of the typical format of each week's episode leading up to hometowns is 2 people get a one-on-one date where they get a lot of screen time. And then the last third of that screen time is split up between anywhere from 5 to 30 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
remember actually Bree Springs and I laughing because you had posted a like screen time graph chart.
yeah,
And she was like, it was a few weeks before hometowns, and she was like, you realize that our screen time combined doesn't even come close to Sarah Trott, who went home like week 2.
Mm.
yeah,
And it's like, I feel like you see that it's not uncommon to see like a storyline from the beginning really take charge of the screen time because it's drama or whatever it may be. They have like a heartfelt past, and then up until hometowns, like things don't really even out. Is that correct?
yeah. And it's really interesting. If people haven't seen my page yet, I track something that we call featured screen time. So the way that I track it, so it was initially me, but now I have a team that helps me. The way that we track this is, let's say there's a group of women sitting on the couch and 2 women are having a conversation back and forth. Let's say they're arguing about something, and and then Jesse's going to come in and be like, there's a 2-on-1 date. And then we're like, oh, who's it going to be? Right. The camera is going to go back and forth between the 2 women who are arguing on the screen, right? And there's women around them. Those women don't get screen time because they're not actually featured in that moment back and forth. So we
Okay.
literally, some of our screen time segments are literally 1 second because it'll be going back and forth between 2 contestants. But it's whoever's the focus of that screen time. And the way that we use this data, it's really interesting to see, especially before hometowns, who gets the most screen time of the season and how far they made it or how early they were eliminated. And yeah, on Matt's season, so much of the screen time, the big thing too about Matt's season is that one of those first episodes, that 1 week was split into 2 weeks worth of episodes. So it really it was like a to be continued episode, and then the rest of it aired the following week. And a lot
Okay.
of that screen time went to Sarah because, she was considering leaving the show, and she was kind of butting heads with a lot of the women in the house. And then Katie pulled her, and then they talked. There was a lot of time focused on that. And what we typically see most seasons is that pre-hometowns, the person who gets the most screen time didn't actually make it to hometowns. And that's because there was some other major storyline that led to them not making it there.
If
Gotcha.
you think if you went back to let's just go back to 2018, and you reviewed all those seasons, do you think the person with the most screen time ended up with the most followers?
No, and it's typically the villain. So somebody who got like a villain type edit where there was some type of conflict in the house, they weren't getting along with the women, or they had some big fight with the lead. That's typically the person who gets the most screen time before hometowns. But then once it gets to hometowns, it totally changes. It just goes to the final 4 contestants and then final 3, and then they really take off. I also do have a data point, by the way. If we look at women who were chosen to be the next Bachelorette from The Bachelor, the only women who were chosen who didn't make it to hometowns were Katie Thurston, Britt. If people don't remember, Britt was chosen to be a co-bachelorette with Caitlin Bristow.
Yes.
And then the men voted the first night on which woman they wanted to actually be the lead. So Britt didn't
horrible.
make
it.
What a horrible thing to do to somebody.
Recap of that episode because we during like the off seasons we did a couple like episode 1 rewatches, like premiere episodes, and we recapped those. And one of the ones we did was Caitlin and Britt, and yeah, truly nuts.
Yeah. And then it was Hannah Brown and then Jen. So those were the ones who were chosen pre-hometowns, but the rest of them, most of them actually came from fantasy suite elimination. So whichever person was eliminated at the fantasy suites, that person typically became the next bachelorette. And that was also a really nice format too, because then at the finale in AFR, they were at that episode because they were typically shown being eliminated just before that, but they were eliminated after the tell-all episode. So they were there that night to be announced as the next lead.
Right.
Wow. Okay, so I'm going to throw out a hypothetical. So let's say I'm your, college friend or whatever. And I'm like, Susanna, listen, I'm going on The Bachelor or Bachelorette. From a data standpoint, what do I want to grow on social media? Like what do I need to happen, or what could I do?
Including things that obviously are completely out of the contestants' control.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's really just about like start making content yesterday. And this also goes beyond Bachelor, by the way. Like anybody who wants to make content, I'm still kicking myself in the butt that I did not create Bachelor data back when Colton's season started, because the amount of followers that I could have gained back then on my page just covering. But like start making content yesterday and don't be scared about the way that people are going to judge you or anything. Start a new account. Don't tell people about it. I'm sure people made fun of the work that I did. I mean, Tino's dad on Gabby and Rachel's season made a whole post calling me, "Who's this loser?"
Really?
What? Yeah. He called me.
I feel like I saw this, or I saw something about this. It sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah,
why
it was
he
about
mad at you?
The screen time analysis. It was like, what kind of loser has the time to do this? And it's like, well, the loser that made a social media following was able to quit their 6-figure job to do this full time.
Yeah, the loser that's making money off of this.
And that's what I say to
why was he so mad about it?
I think it was because he got less. So a funny data point that I will do. I don't know if I did this during y'all's Bachelor in Paradise season, but a new data point that I'll do is the contestants who got less screen time than like the llama on Grant's season or the crabs on Paradise or something like that. And I think that episode he had like gotten less screen time than like the luggage cart or something.
Nice.
Gotcha. That's fun.
So I was just trying to find fun data points like that we can analyze, like, or, like analyzing the impact that the like economic environment has on the number of sparkly dresses that we see on the show and stuff like that. Like I was trying to find some fun correlations that we can analyze on the show. And yeah, I mean, what I tell people though is just start making content yesterday. Like the best time to start was months ago. The second best time is to start today. And like your first few videos are probably going to be pretty bad. If I go back and look at my old videos, especially back when my account blew up, like, and covering y'all's season, for example, like my content back then was horrible. Like, but you end up growing your craft. And now like I'm now invited to be a Microsoft content creator. Like I'm part of their creator program. My charts are way better. I've now launched an Excel and Google Sheets course where I teach other people how to use Excel and how to use Google Sheets, but through really fun content. There's so many different amazing things that are going to happen if you just start now and just don't be hard on yourself. If you're going on the show, start recording your content as soon as like on the way to the airport to go film. Like start recording that content now if you can. And then when you get back, like just start recording everything, because us viewers that really are excited about the show, we're going to want to see everything.
Yeah, like if people started doing like pack with me to go on The Bachelor, and then obviously posting it,
I don't think they can.
But they could post it later, right?
Yeah.
Like you could post it before night 1 airs, like throwback to 6 months ago. I mean, it's fun, it's engaging.
Yeah. Like I would love to see like how do you fit all of those dresses plus everything you need, and then how you're going to do your nails during the show. Like I want to know how you're packing for that as somebody who also like loves to pack for things and go on vacations. Like I would love to see that content.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, obviously so much can be quantified as you've shown us through your account. Are there elements that you're like, there's these things that you just cannot put into data. Like, for example, in my eyes, Joe blowing up after night one, like I'm sure there's so much data to explain why that happened, but I would assume there's also an element of just like the stars aligned and timing was crazy and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, with Joe, that one made sense, right? Because it was kind of like with Brendan and Piper on their Bachelor in Paradise season, but the opposite. The way that the audience who watches this show can just suddenly latch themselves onto one specific thing that happens on the show. And in Joe's case, it was very positive. It was, we are standing this man that Becca should have not eliminated. He was amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then when everybody starts making content about it, it's just going to propel Joe's name even more. And then on the flip side, with Brendan and Piper, with their whole moment where they went on the show, they were caught on hot mic talking about how many followers they'd gain, how much screen time she would get of people talking about her before she even got there and stuff like that. You know, that then the audience picked up and was like, hey, that's not cool. We are going to ride you guys down into the ground. And it became this whole social media moment. I think honestly, throughout all the years, the things that I have analyzed that I've found trends in, I typically find a reason there. Like there are certain dates that if you get that date, you're going to make it to final four pretty much. And there are dates that you get that you're not going to make it far. And it makes sense, right? Like let's save the bigger dates like the Bachelorette, the men who get the fireworks date, most of them make it to final four. And that makes sense. Like those are very expensive dates, right?
Yeah.
But on The Bachelor, it's a little different. Only Rachel, Kirkconnell, and Juliana won. You know, there's a reason behind a lot of the trends that we end up finding that makes sense. And then other things like villains pre-2020, they used to gain tons of followers. Like Demi Burnett, she gained tons of followers, and most people forget this. On The Bachelor, she got a villain edit. Like the women were really not liking her in the house. She's now gotten since a better edit because of Bachelor in Paradise and other shows, but we don't see that as much anymore. Villains now, it's a very different world post 2020, especially with social media and how critical we're being of contestants who, not me, but just like the audience are being of people who get specific edits. Mm-hmm. The one that's really interesting to me is the first impression rose on The Bachelor versus The Bachelorette. That was one of the first trends that people found before even my account was on The Bachelor, when the guy is the lead, it is like the kiss of death to get the first impression rose, which is so funny to watch all the women night one be so disappointed that they're not going to get it, because up until Grant's season, if you got the first impression rose, not only were your odds of making it to final four pretty low, but your odds of getting a one-on-one date were pretty much like zero. Because most of them wouldn't get one, and then they changed it for Grant's season that the woman who got the first impression rose would get the first one-on-one date.
Right.
But on the flip side, on The Bachelorette, nearly 50% of men who get the first impression rose win the show.
Wow, women's intuition. It is so powerful.
Do you think that anything that you have put out there in the world as far as data, the show has picked up on and switched some things up? Like, for instance, the person getting the first one-on-one also now all of a sudden gets the first date.
The first impression rose? Yeah. I do think that they probably changed that one. I don't know if it was my account, because that had been a thing people picked up on before my account. But it does make sense. I mean, look at the corporate world, right? The people who work in Excel, the data analysts, the people who do this type of work, we are the ones who drive decision making at companies. Like you don't make a decision at a company based off of your gut. You make it based off of data. So using this type of data to be able to drive decision making, I mean, it makes sense. And I'm always happy to share that data with anybody who needs it. But one other really interesting stat that you can kind of put two and two together is like Bachelor in Paradise. The first date of the season, they rarely work out. Out of all the seasons of Bachelor in Paradise, only 22% of them are technically considered successful. But season 2, the first date went to Ashley and Jared. And technically, they didn't get together until years later after yet another season of Paradise. So if you don't want to count that one, it's even less.
And but our season was Abigail and Noah was the first one-on-one date of the season. And I mean, obviously they're happily married now, but they did break up at the end of the show.
Yeah. And again, you could pull that one out. There's so many people who like to be like, well, that person doesn't count because, Ari changed his mind and Becca was technically the winner, or people want to be like, well, technically Becca wasn't the winner. So people like to look at it different ways, but like Bachelor in Paradise, for example, that makes sense. Like it's the beginning of the season. You had Claire and Graham, you had Jubilee and Jared. Also, Jared is the only contestant to ever go on Paradise and get that first date twice, by the way. And like Tia and Chris, Tia got the first one-on-one date and she invited Chris, but she was like really hung up on Colton and like possibly.
Yeah, you were on that.
I was there. I was there for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? So there are a lot of these data points. A lot of people will be sitting at home and be like, well, my gut tells me this, and I'm the count there that's like, yes, your gut is right. This is the data behind it.
Yeah. Is there a piece of data or a few pieces of data that have been the most shocking to you? Or anything that you were like, wow, like I thought it was this, and now looking at the data, it actually proves something different?
Yeah, I think, but again, all of them, it's like my gut was there. Like the age gaps, for example, on The Bachelor versus The Bachelorette, between the lead and the winner, the average age gap on The Bachelor is 6 years, whereas The Bachelorette, when the woman is the lead and she's choosing a man, the average age gap is that he's a year older. It's 1 year versus 6 years. And on The Bachelor, they're typically choosing women who are 6 years younger than them.
Yeah.
I think that was the one that really shocked me the most.
That was my age gap when I was on The Bachelor. He was 6 years older than me.
Who does better after the show, couples or like people that leave heartbroken? Because I feel like
For
the heartbroken
Paradise?
for for Paradise. Let's do Paradise.
Yeah, I mean, Paradise has an insane success rate. Like absolutely insane. It is the show that's going to just push out the most couples, because also statistically on The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, the maximum number of couples that you can get is one, because there's just one of that gender. But Bachelor in Paradise, it's pretty much 50-50. So you have a lot of potential couple pairings. I do think, especially in recent years, we've seen a lot of contestants that leave, like Becca and Thomas, Abigail and Noah, because they're not ready to commit at that point, but then they keep dating and then they end up, rekindling later. I definitely think the ending of Paradise, to be able to like, well, if you guys want to continue on past this point, you got to get engaged. And it's, it is tough for a lot of couples to be able to make that decision. But it's such a wildly successful show data wise that even if you leave her, like Kaylin and Dean, like they left partway through the season, right? And now they're married in Aspen.
Yeah. And they both have big social media followings.
Yeah.
I mean, they're also great on social, but do you see, like, if something crazy happens on the show, like, let's go back, I guess, to Piper and Brendan, right? Like, there was a lot of talk around that, and I remember you creating a lot of posts around that. If a crazy incident happens on the show, do you see your own social media growth happen as well?
Absolutely. And that was the craziest moment during Brendan and Piper. I gained in 24 hours 14,000 followers just covering that. And it was so funny too, because I have the most supportive partner. He went out to go get me balloons because I had hit like, I think it was like 70,000 followers. And he went out to go surprise me to get them. I had no idea where he was going. And I honestly didn't even notice him leaving the house because I was just like on my phone, like creating content here. Because it is like, so my data too, especially with social media growth during that time. If people didn't watch that season, Brendan and Piper had kind of been seeing each other before the season started to air. And Brendan was seeing Natasha until Piper got there. And basically what happened in this moment when they got caught in the hot mic, were called out on the beach, etc., is that social media momentum picked up and everybody was on this. I was not calling for it, but a lot of people were making content on unfollow Brendan and Piper, and they were losing thousands by the every few minutes.
And Natasha was gaining.
Natasha was the opposite way. And actually my video popped off because at this time Loki was airing on Disney Plus. And that was a really popular show. I was obsessed with it. So I took the theme song for that and was like showing the chart changing over time. It was so fun to cover that. Just data wise, like it's really exciting when something like that happens. And then my videos were blowing up as well. And I also saw that like during Matt James' season with the controversies that happened there, that blew up my account. But it was really funny. My partner, he went out to go get the balloons. And before he went back, I passed 70,000. And we got home, I was already at 75,000. And they were like, the balloons were wrong at that point.
Oh, it's the thought that counts.
But it was pretty cool. But yeah, these whenever you see these big moments that happen on the show, positive, negative, whatever they are, whenever they go viral, us content creators also see it whenever we cover it.
I'm gonna assume, based off of your father telling you, you know, you should cover something that you enjoy, that you enjoyed watching reality TV.
Yeah.
Doing what you do now, does that take away some of the enjoyment when you watch?
Yeah, like when you're tracking, are you ever like, I'm tired of this gram?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to track follower counts today.
Yeah.
Well, I have an amazing person on my team that takes the screen time data, and that's what it was like during I've had people help me on and off. So back when I first started tracking screen time, it was really hard on me because I was working as a technology director. I oversaw a team of 40 people. It was a big school district. Especially like this was coming out of COVID. We were working on a big project in our district, migrating our student information system. Like my life was really busy and I'd basically work like 10 hours at my day job and then come home and then I would work on Bachelor data. So I've had amazing people have helped me along the way with the screen time collection, but the times that I took that on to do myself, it did take away from it. It was like a 4-hour job early on for me to do because it's an Excel spreadsheet and it's a lot of stop, start, rewind.
Tedious.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people have approached me and they're like, "Why don't you just like machine learning, like train a thing?" And it's like, well, this takes the human element of figuring out like like you have to really discern who is the focus of this moment that the audience is going to be focusing on. And then how do we split it if it's really multiple people in this moment, or do we just do 1 second every time it changes? It does take that human element, and that really did drain me for a while.
Yeah.
I will say it is tougher on seasons where I know the spoiler and I'm not excited about who wins. That kind
Mhm.
of
Gotcha.
impacts it. I always look forward someday to be able to like watch a season and not be spoiled. But it's really hard to as a content creator for this show because so many people will even like on my Instagram account, I have it set that the only people who can comment are people who follow my page because like, it does get pretty bad with people just commenting spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do really want to watch a season someday without knowing the spoilers because I do think that that will change it. But I will say on the flip side, sometimes I know the spoiler, like Daisy, Joey, Kelsey, like that whole season, I knew Daisy and Kelsey were final 2. And based on their social media presence, I was like, this is gonna be an awesome season. Like I got so much more excited for it. Um, but I've had my moments. I think 2023 was a tough year, but also because I was
A little
seeing the
burnt out.
data and like social media growth was low, so I wasn't having a lot of fun analyzing it. And every week it was like, oh wow, the most growth we saw this week was like 800 followers. And like back in the day, we used to see like, like Joe, you gained 10,000 followers overnight. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
does,
that's
I
got to
think.
be much more thrilling to like watch like
Yeah, you
crazy
want to
growth.
see anomalies. You want
Yeah.
to see like highs and
Exactly.
lows and like big changes, I guess, versus like the creepy crawly of it all. But what do you think about them not doing the Bachelorette this year?
Listen, I get it. I get it from the business perspective, right? Like last year was tough. There were, we had Golden Bachelorette, we had Jen's season, we all saw what happened with certain people getting cast on the show. Um, ratings have been tough the last 2 seasons, so it makes sense for them to kind of regroup. Let's figure out casting, how to make this, how to really get casting right. Especially because we saw casting get right for Joey's season, and we saw
Yeah.
how perfect and amazing of a season it was. And it also makes me excited because it means that there's more budget now that they can put into Bachelor in Paradise, which is personally, I've always much more enjoyed Bachelor in Paradise than the other shows. Like I do love the other shows, but I love Paradise because you get so many more potential couples from there. And it's really exciting because so many end up moving on and getting married and having kids. And now we have lots of Paradise babies and stuff. So I think it makes sense from the business perspective. Personally, I miss it. Like I would have loved to see a Bachelorette season, even if they had brought in, there were rumors that they were possibly going to bring on Victoria F from Peter's season.
She would be a
She would be so
great
good.
Man, that mess, it would have been so fun to cover that season. Like the way that
Yeah.
she just generated so much fun mess back then. Like I would have really enjoyed that, you
Yeah.
know?
And I also think, I mean, like, there's obviously exceptions on either side of this, but she's been on The Bachelor. She went far. She went all the way to Fantasy Suite. She's been on Paradise. I do think there's something to be said for a lead that has experience being on the show and like their ability to kind of bring more to the position just because they've been on once and went far, or twice, you know, like Colton, I think.
I mean, I personally think if you bring if the show, and we're running out of time, so we got to wrap. But if the show brought Victoria Fuller is the next Bachelorette, I think it would be the biggest season they would have, maybe ever. Because I think I feel like 95% of Bachelor Nation fans would watch the season, and then you would get so many new people as well. I think it would be great. That's what I would do if I was
Joe throwing out his own stats.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just making shit up here. Susanna, thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
Yeah. Before we let you go, is there anything else you want to touch on or talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited for Paradise this summer. I'm so excited to see what they're going to do, what they're going to shake up. Maybe they'll let the contestants film content while they're there. Fingers crossed. I think that'd be so fun. But yeah, and if people are new here and if they haven't seen my page, come check me out. I also have Excel and Google Sheets courses if you guys are interested in learning how to use those platforms in an actual fun way and not with boring people on YouTube. You guys can come check that out. I actually have a sale running right now too. So
can you tell people where they can find that, and then also your Instagram handles?
Yep, it's just going to be in my bio. I'm Bachelor Data across all platforms, Instagram, TikTok, and then occasionally on Twitter. Or I guess X is what they call these days. But yeah, come follow, come have fun, and send me your data requests. I am always so excited when somebody finds a new piece of data for us to analyze, so we can find some new trends.
Awesome. And to all our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in to Bachelor Happy Hour. Make sure you download and subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah, and be sure to go follow Bachelor Data. She truly posts the most engaging, cool, fun, exciting content if you're interested in this stuff. And be sure to continue listening and subscribing to Bachelor Happy Hour as well. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.